There's something I'd like to point out. One little thing that should be noted when you're building a barn door like this. You'll see that here's a gear, here's a curved rod. One thing that's somewhat important is the horizontal plane of this gear should coincide with the center of the hinge. Often I've seen drives where it could be mounted, I'm exaggerating here, but a little bit too high, and the hinge will be down there, and you're going to have the gear will end up lifting or dropping and cause problems. Now what I did here, the way I take care of it in this drive is after doing a bunch of measurements. Now if I come back, here's a flat wheel. I'm not measuring anything, I'm just showing the horizontal part of it. This bearing is now mounted so that it's in plane with the center of the hinge right there. It's perfectly flat with it. Just going like this. There it goes. Right in line with it. Again, it doesn't have to be measured down to a millionth of an inch, but you don't want it like this, something like that, or down here somewhere. It has to, this horizontal plane has to be over here, and it's something worth noting. In fact, the gear itself is, if you look at the way this is cut, it's cut somewhat loose, so that it rocks a bit, so it'll take up any little bit of slack that's in there, and of course the weight of the camera comes down and will hold it flat, but you just don't want that way off. You want to be pretty close. So pretty much, let's see if I can look at it this way. Yeah, it should be just about in line with that, just like that. And there's one other thing I wanted to mention that I never see mentioned anywhere else. Mounting these rods, one mistake I made with this project is I never really found a really good way to mount the rod to the wood. The little section of rod that's in between the boards here is actually curved. I bent it back a little because you have two horizontal surfaces in a curved rod. It would tuck in if you just tried to mount it. So actually this section up here of the rod is been pulled back. I just simply put vice grips on here and a wrench up here and wrenched it back, and then cleaned up the threads. And it takes a bit of tinkering, but I'm sure someone else will find a better way to do it. And one thing you have to look out for is the rod. We're always concerned about the curve of the rod like this. Oh, this has to be exactly right. Okay, we all know that. But it can't be off in this dimension. Going when it comes down, you don't want this to be off rotationally. If this is, if you can kind of see if this thing were, if I were to twist this. In fact, let me take this out. Maybe you better see it. There we go. Be a little quicker if I had two hands. There we go. Now, not only does it have to come right down the center, but it should be, it should not be rotation. It has to be rotationally correct. It's the only thing I could say. Otherwise, it's gonna go whoop, whoop, it'll have a weird curve to it. So you got to take care of that. This one is not bad. It's off a touch. I just have to touch it up, but it's off a tiny bit. I can get rid of that. As long as when the gear is in, it doesn't bind. The main thing is it's not, when you have the gear on here, you don't feel it binding against the bearing. It should rotate very freely. In fact, one way to tell, let's see, this is an idea. See, this only tells you that this tip is lined up. It doesn't tell you if the rest of it's okay yet. But one way to tell is it gives a nice little ring. It rings nicely. Here, now if it were way off, I mean, that's what happens when it's way off. And you have to push it into place like that. That you don't want. I'm artificially doing. That you don't want. You want it to flow right in. And that's it for this. And any other questions, let me know. Astro Kids signing off.